Hi friends, so before you start this video, make sure you go over to our other video where I'm reading the book Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So today we're going to be doing some worksheets that go along with our book Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So this first one talks about the different parts of the book and who we see in the book. So it talks about our characters, our setting, and it says the main idea, and then if this book is fiction or nonfiction. So first, I want to start going over what these things mean and where we can find them in our book. So the first one, the characters. So the characters are who is in the story and who the story is about. So let's see if we can go through some of the book and see who our characters are. We want to look for names and groups of people that they name in the book. So let's see. We were all sitting around the big kitchen table. It was Saturday morning, pancake morning. Mom was squeezing oranges for juice. So we have one character right there. Mom. Let's see who else is on this page. Henry and I. Ooh, so Henry's one of them. And then we have a person who names themselves I, and that person is the narrator. They're the one telling the story. So I'm gonna write narrator. Narrator, who else? Let's see. And Grandpa was doing the flipping. So Grandpa is the last person that we see on this first page. And Grandpa. So we have a lot of the characters that are already on the first page. We have Mom, Henry, the narrator, and Grandpa. So I want you can pause this video right now, and if you have the other video of me reading this book, you can go through that video and see if there's anyone else that we name in this book or any groups of people that we name in this book. All right, so going through the book, I feel like we could also add as a character the people of Chew and Swallow, because they are a big part of this book. They are who is getting rained on by Soup and snowed on by Juice or mashed potatoes. So I'm going to add them to our list of characters. So people of Chew and Swallow. So that brings us to our next story element. That is the setting. So where the story takes place. So on the first page, we see that they are in the kitchen at the kitchen table. So I'm going to write kitchen as one of our first places we see. Kitchen. So I'm going to read this page where we start to hear about the town of Chew and Swallow, which is also another place in our book. And we're going to talk about if we think it's a real place or not. So let's see. Let me read this page. That night, touched off by the pancake incident at breakfast, Grandpa told us the best tall tale bedtime story he'd ever told. So now, where are they? So it's a bedtime story, so they're in their bedroom. Let's see. And she called that a tall tale. A tall tale is a story that is made up. So Chew and Swallow isn't a real place, but in this book, it's one of the places that all the things in the story happen. So let's see. I'm going to write the town of Chew and Swallow. So it's another place where our book, that's another setting in our book. Let's see if we can find anything else. Ooh, because then the rest of the story really takes place in the town when all these things are happening. Looking at our story, all the different events are happening here. So I think we have, let's see, at the end, so they're at their house still, and they went outside. Let's say our last setting is the narrator's home. Narrator's home. So the next story element we're going to be talking about is the main idea. So what is the main thing that happens in this story? So we know that this isn't really a real town. So let's put the first part is Grandpa is telling a story. Grandpa tells a story about what? What is he telling a story about? So if we go back into the book, it's about a town of Chew and Swallow and what happens in that town. So let's see, about Chew and Swallow. Where what happens? What happens in the story in the town of Chew and Swallow? So we have our first part. The first part of our story is that Grandpa tells a story about Chew and Swallow. What is Chew and Swallow? Let's say Chew and Swallow is a town with what? What's going on with the weather? With food weather. With food weather. And what does the food weather do? It feeds all of them. It feeds all of their meals. That's sort of important to think about because at the end of the story, that changes for them. So let's see. With food weather, we could add that creates their meals. Creates their meals or creates meals for the town. So, Chew and Swallow is a town with food weather that creates meals for the town. So maybe I could write something else. You could also write something else that creates meals for the people. Sometimes we got to choose different wording if we read our sentence over again in our head and it slightly makes sense or it's too repetitive. So we can think about that when we're writing. So eventually in the story, what do we see happening? So the food weather is going well, but let's see. Let's see when it really starts to change. Life for the townspeople was delicious until the weather took a turn for the worst. All right, so in these couple pages, it looks like the weather is starting to get out of control. The food's getting bigger, like this huge pancake on the school. There's lots of what kind of sandwiches? Cheese and jelly sandwich, cream cheese and jelly sandwiches. There's tomato twisters. And then, whoa, meatballs came from the sky. Same with donuts and hamburgers. So what happens next in the story is that the food gets too big. The food gets too big. And what happens? What do they have to do? Let's go ahead and check in our book. So a decision was made to abandon the town of Chew and Swallow. So to abandon somewhere means to leave it. Let's see. The people glued together the giant pieces of stale bread in sandwich style with peanut butter and took the necessities with them and sailed on rafts for a new land. So they left. The food gets too big and the people leave. And the people leave. So the people leave and they get to this new place. In this new place, they started their lives over again, but the food didn't come from the sky anymore. They had to go to the store now. So, and the people leave. They start their lives over, but have to buy their food. They start life again, but need to go to the store for food. Now, friends, remember, you don't have to write this much. You don't even have to write it. You can talk about it with someone. You could talk about the book with someone. This is just what I'm writing to give you some ideas of what you can do. And this last part down here, the last story element, is asking if the book is fiction or nonfiction. So it says, I know this book is fiction or nonfiction because. So fiction is when a story has a plot and characters and a setting that are created by the author's imagination. So if it's created by someone's imagination, it could pretty much be anything. So in this story, the author uses their imagination to create a town that's about raining meatballs. So let's see. Okay. So the last story element we're going to be talking about today is whether this book is fiction or nonfiction. So fiction means that a story has a storyline, so it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, that something happens over time. It has characters, it has people in the story, and settings that are created by the author's imagination. So these things might not always be real. And a nonfiction story is a story that's based on actual people and actual events that happen in history. It also can be a factual book and an information book. So this nonfiction book has facts in it about how people celebrate the new year. That is one of our fact books. But another type of book, if we go into the library, we could find a book about dinosaurs that tells us what a dinosaur looks like, the different parts, where they lived and what they eat. That would also be a nonfiction book. So nonfiction books are based on real facts and real things. So now that we have that definition of fiction and nonfiction, let's think about if Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is fiction or nonfiction. So I want you to talk about it for just a minute and see what you think and why. So I'm going to say that this book is fiction, which means it's made by the author's imagination, because does food really come from the weather? Do we really have donuts falling from the sky? Do we really have soup coming down? Does it rain eggs? If we look up at the sky when the weather's out, it rains rain, it rains water, it snows snow. The wind doesn't come with maple syrup, and we can't hold plates out and catch our food. So I'm gonna say this book is fiction. It's not real, and it's created by the author's imagination. So I know this book is fiction because, what could I write? Because food doesn't fall from the sky. That's one thing I could write. Because food does not fall from the sky. It doesn't rain food. That's one of the things that you could write for your reasoning why this book is fiction or nonfiction. So we just did a page on our story elements. So this is our page about the different elements of the story. So we said that the characters were Mom, Henry, the narrator, Grandpa, and the people of Chew and Swallow. The settings were the kitchen, the kids' bedroom, the town of Chew and Swallow, and the narrator's home. The main idea of the story is that Grandpa tells a story about Chew and Swallow. Chew and Swallow is a town with food weather that creates meals for people. The food gets too big and the people leave. They start life again, but need to go to the grocery store for food. So that was my main idea. And then I know this book is fiction because food does not fall from the sky. So this was our first page. We do not have to have as many words, and we can just talk about it. But I will have this page attached in the Google Classroom as well, so you can print it out and do it on paper or use a different device to do it as well. Let's see what else we have. Oh, we also have our label a rainy day. So it has a bunch of words in the word bank, and it has arrows pointing to different things. So let's see. So this top one is pointing to this big fluffy thing right here. What's that usually called? It has rain coming down from it. It's called we have some words. We have rain, umbrella, cloud, lightning, boots, and puddle. Let's see. What is this big fluffy thing? It's a cloud. So I'm going to write cloud right in there. Cloud. All right. And this one right here is pointing to something that looks like electricity. So let's see. We already have cloud done. So we have rain, umbrella, lightning, boots, puddle. What does this look like to you? It looks like lightning. Lightning. All right. So we're going down the side. This one is pointing to her feet. What is on her feet? Let's see. So we got rain. Is rain on her feet? I don't think so. Umbrella, boots, and puddle. On her feet, she's wearing boots. So we're gonna write boots. All right, let's go to the other side. So this one right here is pointing at something that's shielding her from the rain. What shields you from the rain? Rain? Does rain shield you from the rain? What about an umbrella? An umbrella, you can use an umbrella to shield you from the rain. Umbrella. All right, now this next one is pointing at the drops of water coming down from the cloud. That is rain. Rain. All right. And then our last one down here, it's a big wet circle. What's something that forms when rain falls and there's like a little divot in the ground? What collects there? It's a puddle. And we can jump in puddles with our boots when we have boots on only. So this one is a puddle. And now we have labeled all of our items on this label a rainy day paper. All right, so let's go to the next one. This next one, this is just one that has some sight words on it, so we're not going to do it together, but right here, you're going to draw a picture about the sentence that you cut out or just rewrite. So I could just take that sentence and see which one might come first. I'm going to say, I comes first because it's uppercase and we're talking about me. So ready? I what? I big, I saw, I cloud, I rain. Let's think about what comes next in that sentence. So you're gonna trace the word saw right here, draw a picture of the sentence, put the sentence together, and then write that sentence once again down here. So this one says blank predicts. So predicts means you're making a guess about what's gonna happen. Blank predicts that it will be cloudy with a chance of what? So that's whatever you'd like to choose. Cloudy with a chance of applesauce, cloudy with a chance of hot dogs. And I want you to draw that picture right here and create your own little scene. So, and this other page, which I showed on the last video, is I don't want it to rain meatballs, but I wish it would rain blank because blank. So I think of something that you would like it to rain and write that down right here and draw yourself a picture of what you would want it to rain. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for doing some pages on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It's a pretty fun book, and I will see you again soon.